Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to part 3 of our Final Fantasy XI Let's Play. It's been probably about 6 days, 5-6 days since I recorded the last part. Working on some other stuff, taking care of some things, but seems like everyone's enjoying the first week. The second video hasn't even come out yet, but I'm recording the third, and I might even record the fourth today because I found myself with a bit of spare time, although Ivy is already looking at me as if that is not going to be okay. So, it took me a second to remember where we were leaving off from last time. I had gone to Dangraf Wadi, we had killed Leaping Lizzie, and now we need to head out to the Crag of Dem in order to get a Faded Crystal. Now, I said this 2 parts ago, and I didn't really adhere to it last time, but upon leaving Bastok, I probably won't return until quite a few things are done. Number 1, I need the Faded Crystal itself. Number 2, I definitely want my sub-job unlocked because I'm 3 levels away from that. And number 3, I want to, in the process, make it all the way to Norg. Now, as such, I'm probably not going to get through all of that, but there's a couple of things I need to do before I head out. Now, unfortunately, I don't believe I have enough conquest points in order to buy a warp ring just yet. Yeah, I only have 1,800. When we get to 5,000, I believe it is, we're going to want to buy a warp ring. Now, that being said, we won't really need it. We are going to be going to another location that has home points. So our goal is to just gain as much experience and just get as much done as possible as we're going through. Before I leave, we're going to do 2 things. 1, I'm going to head to the markets, and I'm going to pick up another weapon or 2. I thought I had already done that, but it turns out I didn't, so silly me. So that's what we're going to go do. We're going to go exchange our sparks for some weapons. I haven't done any exchanges for the Acheron shields yet, but that's because I haven't been playing enough. When I need the gil, it'll matter most, but unless I'm actually planning on hitting that 100,000 cap for the week, it's not really that important. I'm just going to redo Signet. I have plenty of Signet time left. I just might as well do it now. Always helps to grab Signet, or there's a few different versions of Signet depending on the expansion area you're talking about. But I just need to grab Signet. Oh, not what I meant to do. I can also grab a Scroll of Instant Warp, which I am going to do real quick. Not something, again, I particularly need, but it doesn't hurt at the same time. So we need a higher level dagger. So the knife at level 13 is the same as the level 18 Basilar, just with a slightly higher delay. And honestly, that's probably all I need. Like I said last time, you can buy armor, but your trusts will largely be the ones taking damage in your place. So the relevancy is not very high in order to grab armor. And again, if you are somebody who actually has the body and headpiece that come with it, then it matters even less. Now, somebody did point out that I could technically transfer those items from the character that has them to this character. Now, in most circumstances, I would completely agree. However, I cannot do that for the sole reason in that that character is on Asura, and this character is not. So I'm not willing to pay for a transfer to make that happen, so we are not going to do that. So I'm just going to quickly vendor some stuff. You might be able to get a little bit more, but it's honestly bind, shell shields. It's like, I'm not going to like stress these things too much. The meat jerky I'll use as I'm going around killing stuff. Now, there are some quests that use certain items. Bat wings, for example, wouldn't be the worst thing to hold on to, but I'm not going to worry about those now, just because if I hoard everything in the case that I might need something, I don't need to tell you how that's going to go. It's going to go exactly how you think it's going to go. My inventory is just going to fill up and fill up and fill up, and it's just going to be a nonstop headache. So we got that. Now, the second thing we need to do is go activate Rhapsodies of Vana'diel. Now, this is something you technically should have done as soon as it was available. I avoided it just because the first video was already going on for quite some time by the time I got to the option of unlocking it. But that is what we are going to do now. We need to speak to a specific entity, and I think it's right around here. I've never actually had to use this feature since it was added. Back when I did all the stories, if you walked into an area that had a story available, it just started. We didn't have the option to skip it and come back to it later. And when I did that, it did point out, hey, you know, this is where you need to go. I just need to, I think it's right here. Tales Beginning. Yeah, it's right here. This will allow me to start Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, which is by far the most important story quest series that you're going to want to do because it unlocks a ton of awesome stuff. The crystal resonates deep within your soul. I don't know if that was... Oh, there it is. It's been a long time since I've done Rhapsodies. I wonder who that could be. Oh my goodness. Hello. I guess I maybe shouldn't tell you who that is in case you're watching this and don't know who it is. If you play 14, there's a good chance you know who it is. Ivy. Ivy is zooming right now. She is losing her mind. Vanadil. In the year 898. I must make haste for Risengema and find the master before. Ivy has now crawled into my lap. Rhapsodies of Vanadil. Final Fantasy XI. And now that she's on my lap, she is also subsequently jumping off of my lap. Or she's about to jump off of my lap and hasn't made up her mind yet. There she goes. Alright, so that is very simple. Now, it is very, very easy to get lost in all of the stories. So I highly recommend, whenever you are following the story of any of them, that you pull up a wiki page and keep an eye on it. So, Rhapsodies of Vanadil is the first quest. And simply put, you just have to zone in to Basilisk, Windurst, or Sandoria at least level 3, and it would trigger that cutscene or the ability to use the tails. Now, we are on 1-2, which is where we have to head to Selbina or Muhara. Now, there are descriptions of these quests in here. So, you can easily just go through these, see that I am on Resonance, and it would say perhaps someone in Selbina or Muhara could provide clues. So, that is going to be our next goal. Now, I did say I wanted to stop in Dangrafwadi and actually grab those, what are they called? The survival guide. So we're going to do that. We already killed Leaping Lizzie in the last part, so we don't need to worry too much. And so we are going to begin our trek through the rest of the world. Didn't I say there was a third thing I wanted to do? Well, no, I said there's 3 things I was going to do as I was out traveling. I guess going to Dangrafwadi would make 4. I should be fine to just run. There's really nothing in southern or northern Gustaberg that would be even a remote concern to me at level 15. There are, again, some notorious monsters that if you're bored, you could go out of your way and do. There's some side quests you could go out of your way and do. A lot of the time when you go to do side quests, you'll usually go do them with a purpose, especially if you're following guides about how to unlock stuff. So I'm not going to worry about any of that. For example, up here should be a notorious monster somewhere on that mountain, if it's not dead. A lot of the time it's dead because a lot of new players will just climb this mountain. One thing I really, really like about Bastok is that this mountain right here to my left has, I would say, some of the best monster density of any of the starting zones. Now, it's far from the only area in all of the starting cities that has good monster density. I'm just seeing if the NM is up. Doesn't look like it is. But it definitely, for me, as someone who has been to the other areas, it's definitely my favorite in terms of monster density. It's effectively just, 2 or 3 giant rings that you can run around and kill everything. Now, we level so fast that it's actually kind of not beneficial to do that unless you have some particular reason as to why you would want to go up the mountain and run around in circles. But there's no denying that in a vacuum, at least under the concept of how much EXP you could gain and how quickly, it was always really good to me. And there's a similar mountain in North Gustaberg, which I mentioned in the last part. So, we don't need to worry. Now, I will say this. I'm going to be occasionally just throwing random tips about things you can do as we're going places. In the last part, I went through Palborough Mines. I got all those fetish items from the Quadavs, and that's why I thought of it, because I knew I was about to walk by them. You saw that they sell pretty well. If you are just, passing through an area, and there are Quadavs that drop the fetish items, it's not a bad idea to maybe just kill them. Because while you can only hold 1 of each, so up to 4 of, 1 of each of the body parts, so 4 items total. If you can get to an auction house and then sell them for, 10, 20k a piece, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not as good as just selling the shields and making sure you do the 100,000 sparks every week. But, if you can get some EXP off of it or some scalps or whatever, it's certainly you could do worse. You know what I mean? So, that's the way I'm looking at it. Alright, so we're going to stop off in Dangerfwadi. Fortunately, I don't have to really care. I'm still going to look for Leaping Lizzie real quick. I'm not going to kill it even if it's here, but... It's one of those things where when you've been playing the game long enough, you can't help but wonder as you pass through places if certain things are alive or not. Even if you have no intention of killing them and there's no value for you to kill them, sometimes you're just like curious, like, oh, I wonder if... And there's definitely a handful of notorious monsters that's going to happen with today. Most notably when we get to Konstadt Highlands and I get to the Crag of Dem. There are 2 different ram and notorious monsters that can be out there. And while they're too high of a level for me to beat, although I bet my trusts could probably make work of one of them, they are part of the Monk's Purple Belt quest. And they have a very, very storied history in terms of competition to clear them and kill them, as well as just the way they terrorize new players, because they are very high-level notorious monsters in a very low-level area. Sort of. There's like the Rampaging Ram and the... What's the other one? It's Rampaging Ram and... I can't remember the other at the moment. They're like level 30-ish, and they don't always drop the purple belt item, but they spawn every few hours. And those are just like, you kill the rams out there, and maybe one of the rams, every 15 minutes the ram respawns, and sometimes it's that. Cool. That's how most low-level purple belt monks would have gone about trying to get their purple belt items, would be to kill those. But there's also like level 60-ish versions called Steel Fleece. What is it? Steel Fleece... something and Blood Tear Baldriff. I can't remember Steel Fleece's last name, but yeah, there's Steel Fleece and Blood Tear. And those are in Konstadt Highlands and Lathine Plateau, respectively. Those always drop the purple belt item, but also have other highly valuable items as well. So those are the reasons why most people would end up camping out there. Not to mention that in order to do your brown belt quest, if you didn't want to buy a brown belt, you had to do the purple belt quest first. The brown belt quest is a whole nother thing. The brown belt quest was a nightmare for most monks on average. Brown belt was incredibly valuable, one of the best waste pieces you could be using, pretty much other than the black belt itself for a long time. And the quest was not a good time for a lot of people, especially because people who didn't need the brown belt would often do the quest so that they could sell the brown belt to monks who had trouble completing the quest. So the competition for the items were very, very steep. If it was rare extreme, meaning that players couldn't sell it and they could only have one, there's a higher likelihood that that wouldn't have happened, but it was never one of those quests that they decided to go against. Because it wasn't really botted, because it was a one and done quest, it wasn't really treated the same way that like Leaping Lizzie was from my story last time, where the bots were like doing it en masse. That being said, where one of the brown belt item bosses are, there were a ton of bots for a really long time. Not because of that notorious monster, but it was close enough to the other ones, to the Stroper chimes that would respawn in there, which weren't even notorious monsters. They were just random enemies with really, really rare and expensive drops. That sometimes the bots would go out of their way and kill the boss in there as well. So it kind of caught a stray or two, I guess you could say. Alright, so we are making our way from South Gustaberg over into the western half of North Gustaberg. Now, there is a survival guide we are going to stop and get along the way at an outpost. So outposts are one of the kind of OG features of the game. Each of the individual areas in the base game is up for what is called Conquest. If players with Signet are killing monsters and earning crystals and earning conquest points in an area, they help with the general conquest of that area for their cities, for their starting nation, for their city-state. And outposts will change control based on which of the city-states controls it. So the first outpost is almost always controlled by the city-state it's closest to. It can be taken over by the others, but it's incredibly rare because usually the flow of new players was enough to stifle any sort of concentrated effort for another nation to take it, just like by virtue of being so close to the starting city-state. The Beastmen can also control it if players are dying a lot in an area. That gives the Beastmen credit towards controlling an area, and then nobody controls it and there's no benefits to it. But with the outpost, there's a handful of things that it can be used for. For the longest time, you had to control an outpost in order to use an outpost warp. I believe you also had to control an outpost in order to do special missions. I forget what they were called. What were the... I think we didn't call them outpost missions. It's like you take a missive to it. I can't remember what they were called. My brain's a little too mush right now. But effectively, you could take a Beastman missive to it and start a large-scale group content that would occasionally drop some pretty valuable items. Most of the time, mannequin items, which were used in indoor housing. But were very, very expensive, mind you. And yeah, that was one of the features. You could outpost warp to them, like I said earlier. That there's no longer any restriction on that. I think even if the Beastmen control it, you can technically warp to it. I think it just changes the cost. And funny story, not everyone had an outpost warp originally. So outpost warping wasn't a thing. And then there was, I think it was a Christmas event one year, very, very early in the game's life cycle. And this is the outpost right here on the left. So I'm going to grab that survival guide. Also, if you control the outpost, you can get Signet from here as well. That's another thing. All right, I have that survival guide. That survival guide's there no matter who controls it. That's completely separate from the outpost warp thing that I was mentioning. So yeah, where was I going with that? So the not everyone had an outpost warp. There was a seasonal event where there was like a giant tree boss, and every server that successfully killed the tree unlocked outpost warping for the server. Now, there were some servers that did not clear it, so Square said, well, that's kind of messed up, and then they just gave outpost warping to all the servers. So it's funny to think that some servers may have almost missed out. It kind of reminds me of, like, you ever play Warframe, and you see those areas on the map that are completely obliterated because players were unsuccessful at defending them, and they just permanently exploded? It's kind of like that, but in reverse, where it's the players that killed the thing permanently unlocked a new feature. But it's such an irrelevant factor, A, because of all the travel now, but B, because of that. Oh, I remember. So, okay, I've got it. So the thing with outpost warping is you had to do an outpost delivery mission, and you could only do delivery missions to outposts you controlled. I think once you did the mission, even if your outpost wasn't controlled, I think you could do the outpost warp, but in order to initially unlock it, you needed to effectively, I think you had to like go to the metalworks and get the supplies, and then, you know, however, through any means necessary, get them to the NPC before the conquest reset happened. And then that would unlock an outpost warp for you. And outpost warps use conquest points. But again, there's survival guides by every outpost now, so it's largely irrelevant. Yes, the waterfall. This is the last big site that most people see before they venture off into the rest of the world. So it's a very, very iconic thing. It's also part of the starting screen for the game. So most players will recognize that waterfall just from the starting screen alone. And that's a big deal. Now you can see that the survival guide is actually on the minimap here as well. Mind you, when I get to Selbina and Muhara, I will have the opportunity to spend a lot of gil to get a lot of maps. So if you haven't done any Acheron shield selling, because there's a home point in Selbina and Muhara, you can technically get there, get the home point, then come back and sell the shields. But this would be a fine point to start considering your shield selling, because getting all of the maps you can possibly get is incredibly valuable. I cannot stress that enough. Here's one last opportunity to get Signet, by the way. Any of these IM guys can give you Signet as long as they are either belonging to a neutral party like Juno, or they belong to you and the control. I'm sorry, they belong to the city-state that you belong to. So now we are in Kochstadt Highlands. Now the first half of Kochstadt Highlands is not very exciting. We do automatically have the map here, and you can see that crystal on the screen. That is a telepoint crystal. That is where we are going to be going to get our faded crystal. There's also a survival guide to the north, which is fortunately also where we need to go. Now, I should summon trusts here because the enemies here are not as laughable. Like I said, there are those really strong bosses that I could technically run into, but there's also just more threatening enemies than the previous areas, and you definitely don't want to be caught with no trusts in an area where you could aggro and have to kill something. At least something that is, you know, has a moderate chance of killing you. And if you're not upgrading your actual armor and you're only upgrading your weapon, almost everything becomes a threat in a sense, unless you have like server bonuses and signet bonuses that are just making you really hard to kill. So in case you're wondering about getting around, you'll notice I'm not using a chocobo. I don't have a mount, none of that. We do not gain mount availability until level 20. And even then, we only gain it when we get to Juno. Now, Juno is at the center of the map, the base game's map, pretty much. And running through here is technically on the path there, though running through Valkurm Dunes, which we're going to go to next, is not part of that at all. So Juno has a quest where you need to help a chocobo. It won't eat. You kind of just have to keep trying to feed it until it finally starts accepting food, and then you need to feed it until it's fully recovered. So once that happens, you get a chocobo license. Now, originally, you needed to trade gauze-bit grass. You needed 4 of them, and you could only trade every real life hour, approximately. It's once every in-game day. You can see at the bottom left that really tiny timer that's like ticking up in my current map position. There's also a little symbol next to it. That's the day of the week it is. It is currently Lights Day. And so, like, once per Lights Day, I could feed it. Then I'd have to wait for the next in-game day, and then I could feed it again. So it would take a minimum of 5-6 hours. And Gauze-bit grass, actually a little more expensive now. If you want to farm Gauze-bit grass, there are some locations to do it. I could recommend just pulling up a guide and farming them. Or you can spend a little bit of gil. Maybe there's some players on some servers that have mercy and actually try to help new players by making them more readily available. I wouldn't be surprised. There are usually some good eggs out there that do stuff like that. But now it's just once every real life minute. So it takes about 5 minutes to do the quest. Now, all that quest does is give you access to renting chocobos, which are limited time. You can't summon them anywhere. You have to rent one either in a city or outside a crag or in some specific location where they actually allow rentals. If you want an actual mount, there's a quest that you can do immediately after that where you have to take a raptor, which is the game's default mount, and you have to do like a little obstacle course. Not even really an obstacles course. It's more like a stamina management where it's like the raptor gets tired and you have to finish running to like 5 different locations before the raptor gets tired. Almost everyone fails it on the first attempt, and then it gets a little easier on the second attempt. And then you clear it then. So once you do that, then you are capable of summoning a mount, and there are tons of mounts to collect. So that's something that you can, of course, get your game on with. Lots and lots of options, usually some login point bonuses, some mounts from doing certain types of content, from other currencies that you can earn as you play throughout the game. So plenty of options. We won't be getting to that anytime soon, though. We're still quite a ways away from doing that. So yeah, expect to run around this speed the first time you're exploring the world. But once you've been everywhere once, there's so many teleport ways to get around. I mentioned Unity teleports last time. There's Void Watch teleports. There's the actual teleport that I'm going to unlock here when I go to do this quest. There's the survival guides. There's home points themselves. There's all sorts of things. So don't worry too much about how long it takes to get places at first. Worry about how long it's going to take later. Now, one thing that you should absolutely do when running through, if you're taking my path at least, is kill wasps. Wasps here are incredibly important because they drop an item that is going to... Oh, I just realized my weapon isn't equipped. Oops. Oh, that's because I'm stupid. I put it in the wrong thing. I put it in my satchel like an idiot instead of my Mog wardrobe. Wasn't even paying attention. I just stuck it in a place and called it a day. Alright. Knife. Yeah, so we're going to want to kill these. These drop an item that we're going to need for... Oh, and I also have Vanquish Bees, so that works out. These are going to drop an item that are required for Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, and the item is unfortunately quite rare. It's really annoying, and a lot of players maybe spend a little more time on these wasps than they wish they did. Also, sometimes wasps do this, and it's super annoying. So you might notice that sometimes I turn off the lock on and I run ahead. Because the game is as old as it is, the comparison between your position on the screen and the position of the enemies is actually like way different. So normally they're way farther ahead of you than they seem like they are. So you actually kind of want to, if you see an enemy start to move, instead of chasing behind them like this, unlock on and try to like run ahead of them. And most of the time, that'll be good enough for you to actually, you know, hit them once. And your trusts won't hit them until you hit them once, so that's pretty important. So yeah, these wasps are definitely the most important thing you could do. I wouldn't even recommend leaving this area until you have 3. I'm trying to remember the exact name of the item. When it drops, I'll remember. I think it's not honey. It's not beehive chips. Those are completely different items. It's pollen, I believe. Bee pollen? Yeah, I'm almost certain it's bee pollen. When it drops, I'll remember. Alright, and one thing, don't forget. I mean, I know I've already killed a few, but we can, of course, go to our daily objectives. Turn that on. We also have Combat Region, Conchdat Highlands. Turn that on. Never hurts. Just get a few bonus. Now, I do have to be careful. While you're killing these wasps, remember that really high-level notorious monster I mentioned? He does spawn in this, like, in a massive area. Like, you'll see me doing this constantly to look for him. And even then, the odds that I would actually get jumped by one is incredibly low. Like, they're massive and they shake the screen. They're giant rams. Not to mention that you have to kill the rams themselves. Like, there are just regular rams that need to be killed. And unless they're being constantly killed, the notorious monster won't come around. Now, to be fair, at my level, the rams are dangerous. Like, foregoing the fact that the rams are gatekeeping a much stronger boss that could spawn out in the world. The Tremor Ram, which I just saw on the screen right there. I just saw it. Well, I saw it in the wide scan. That's a regular Mad Sheep. The Tremor Rams are just these massive... There it is. See the Tremor Ram? That thing is already pretty high of a level. I wouldn't mess with them your first time through here at all. I would just completely avoid them. If you hear stomping around your screen, do whatever you can to just straight up avoid them. There's a moderate chance that maybe your trusts are enough in the, like, late teens / early 20s. You know, at level 25, I used to be able to kill them, so good chance that I could probably deal with it. But they are incredibly tough. They are very annoying. They do have some very dangerous moves. And you just don't want to mess with them. That's it. I would just recommend leaving them alone for the time being. Focus on killing the wasps and doing the quest. Don't forget, we do need to get that faded crystal. That is kind of like the main thing we need to make sure we do here. And you can see, even though I'm on Thief, which has Treasure Hunter, that I have not gotten any bee pollen yet. So this is what I mean by getting this first one can be kind of brutal. There's a beehive chip. Again, that's not what we need. I do have sneak attack now as well. Now, sneak attack does require me to hit them from behind. So if I run ahead like I would recommend I do, it just won't work. But you can see I did 95 damage there. I ain't gonna say no to that. Beastman Seal. Beastman Seal is always good too. Plenty we can do with those. You can also exchange Beastman Seals between the different tiers. There's like a whole heap and hell of a lot of different seals. And there's like Beastman Seals, Kindred Seals. There's a lot. There are no shortage of seals. I'm just gonna kill this thing. Really, Valkurm? No weapon skill? Lame. So there we go. Additional effect, Treasure Hunter effectiveness against Onyx Quadav increased to 2. That's the only problem with Valkurm is he's making my actual application of Treasure Hunter too hard. Like, I applied Treasure Hunter to this thing. Like, I even need it. Oh, by the way, as a reminder, because I have Windower enabled and I have the anti-blink thing. Sorry, I got a fetish head. Because I have the anti-blink thing on, I am not actually punching these things. My knife is equipped, but until I zone over, it's not going to show again. So that's just a little bit of visual trickery that's happening. I am not, I promise you, I am not just punching them. Not that, you know, I wouldn't look cool as hell, but, you know. Or I do, I guess I do look cool as hell. So, telepoint here. First, actually talk to it so you can unlock Teleport Dem. That means if I have the spell Teleport Dem or somebody else has it, I can actually be teleported here. So this acts as another fast travel. Then we trade a crystal, and we get a faded crystal back. You can see it in the chat in the bottom left. That is what we needed for the mission. Now we still need 3 bee pollen, and we still need to go to Selbina and Muhara. So we've only done one of our objectives. And again, we really shouldn't leave until all of them are done. I did apply Treasure Hunter to that one. There you go, bee pollen. Sometimes you just get the Treasure Hunter, and you really need to see. So Treasure Hunter effectiveness to 2 is effectively meaning when I hit them, I'm applying Treasure Hunter 1 automatically. But when I hit them sometimes, I can apply Treasure Hunter level 2. And then the high... There's a whole, like... I honestly shouldn't get too into it. It's a lot different than the way some people may remember it working. But then again, people don't really remember how it worked, or they didn't have a perfect understanding of how it worked before. And this is supposed to kind of make that a little bit more trackable, I suppose. A little bit more interactable, maybe, is the better word. So you actually kind of know what's going on at this point. But I have the Dem Gate Crystal. There's another wasp over there. Yeah, Valkurm just destroys everything, man. Pot of honey. I'm just glad I got one bee pollen so far. I'm not going to lie, that's exciting enough. A lapis lazuli ring. I'm just going to eat the honey. Why not? I love honey. It's delicious. I don't even remember what honey does. It only lasts like 5 minutes. Oh, we got a lapis lazuli ring. Nothing major. It's, you know, mind +1, which is not useful to me at all, but what the heck? Might as well. Another tremor ram. Avoid that. Yeah, that check command is very handy. Do not ignore the fact that the check command exists. Enemies have levels for a reason, and you should really make sure you know what those levels mean. Now, if you want to go hit one and die, be my guest, I would at least go grab the survival guide in this direction first. But, you know, if you really want to know what it's like when one hits you, I mean, I showed you in Dangraf Wadi, but you're more than welcome to just go do it yourself. Wind crystal, wind crystal. Goblins aggro. Fortunately, most things here don't aggro. The quad-abs aggro, the tremor rams aggro. The goblins aggro. There are some other enemies to the east that aggro. At nighttime, there's like skeletons and ghosts. Those will aggro as well. But for the most part, we're just cruising through. Not a whole lot to be concerned about. Looks like there's another wasp over here. It's actually a handful of wasps over here, it looks like. We just gotta go where the wasps are for now. I think I leveled too. Yeah, I gained a level. I'm also coming up on completing a few other objectives. Oh, speaking of which, I did not take every objective that I could have. Unity. Vanquish multiple enemies. Gotta take that again. I could take vanquish lizards. I mean, I'll probably kill some more lizards. And kill enemies with Unity Leader. Now that I have the Unity Leader in my party. Oh, see, you can see another player doing the same thing. So that's also something that has to be considered. Because we are on a server that actually has a decent population. Oh, hey, Stream Area is up. So Stream Area is an NM that actually used to be, I won't say super valuable, but was definitely on the list of, I don't even remember what level Stream Area is, so hopefully this isn't a problem. It's definitely on the, if you can kill it, it's not a bad idea. I think it drops Mary's milk. I don't remember what the milk does. But this was a moderately, oh, don't worry about that. That's an event thing. That's not supposed to be here. That's part of the current event. It's not too hard. Oh, I should have probably sneak attacked that. That's fine. I'll just sneak attack a normal attack. So this is where I would start probably wanting to make macros. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to skill up Dagger. It's actually not a bad idea to take things like this, even if they take a little while to kill. Just because any amount of opportunities to skill up are well and indeed worth it. Now, Sheep Song was the #1 thing I was going to mention. Very annoying ability, and it put Aparuru to sleep as well. Valkurm will fortunately take the time to wake everyone up. But Sheeps do have Sheep Song, and I know that Stray Mary is very, very popular for doing this. For, you know, putting everyone to sleep pretty frequently, but fortunately, Cure does indeed wake people up. Yeah, Valkurm doesn't take too much damage on this. And remember, Valkurm gets MP back. There's Sheep Song again. So when he takes a hit again, he'll wake up. Yeah, and this sleep lasts a pretty long time. It lasts like 40 seconds. So one thing that can actually happen is it can be kind of dangerous for you to be out fighting sheep around the rams. Because if a sheep puts you to sleep and there's a ram approaching you, there's nothing you can really do about it. And that can suck a lot. Now, another thing that can happen is you can be fighting a sheep like I am now, and your trusts could maybe not wake you up before it dies. And if it dies, you're... Oh, Mary's Horn. That's what it is. Yeah, Mary's Horn is like a... It's like a low-level bard item. That was pretty good. I think it makes putting enemies to sleep more easy, doesn't it? Yeah. Lullaby +1. Yeah, I mean, fitting given what we were just going through in that fight, right? Yeah. Lullaby +1. Very, very useful. Low level, being able to put enemies to sleep is probably among the most useful things a job can do. Crowd control can turn situations that are really, really bad into at least somewhat salvageable situations. And on top of that, when you're pulling lots of monsters, or you're pulling monsters that have the chance to link together, it's just a good idea to be able to put things to sleep. Whether it's so your team can run away, or because you pulled multiple enemies and you just want to make sure one of them stops hitting your team. Lullaby at the low levels, kind of rough to use. Doesn't usually last that long and its accuracy is questionable, but it has a lot of support items that can make it much easier and make it much more reliable. And by the way, as a reminder, I still need 2 more bee pollen. Still need 2 more bee pollen. Oh, I killed 2 enemies there. Sweet. Yeah, we're just going to be running around until we actually manage to get all of these. Good chance that I'll finish quite a few of these. I mean, look at how many I have active. Those objectives, man, they stack and they stack and they stack, and it's just really good. And with Valkurm just one-shotting them half the time, it makes it much easier. Now, if only I was actually applying Treasure Hunter half the time. And again, there are trusts that also can have Treasure Hunter. But we don't have one yet, so. We gotta do it the old-fashioned way. Almost everyone I know has really grown to hate these wasps. Just from trying to farm bee pollen for this initial quest. Damn. And then when that happens, it's torture. You get 2 items at once and you're like, oh, surely one of them was... Nope. Yeah, that's an NPC, not an enemy. So, again, this is part of the, part of an event. Oh, grenades also aggro here. So, Windurst actually has the major, domination here as a conquest nation, which is actually, I'll say slightly unusual. It's a little less unusual nowadays to see Windurst or Sandoria maybe vying for control of Conchnath than back in the day. Again, the bee pollen thing is a big reason. A lot of people end up congregating to this location to get bee pollen. And so if more people are just making characters from Windurst or from Sandoria, then, you know, it's not that unlikely. I was going to say, is he going to instantly kill that thing? Well, he didn't instantly kill that one. And well, he did kill the sapling next to it. He almost instantly killed it. Came very close. Ooh, that got resisted. Mind you, I haven't resummoned them. I'm level 17 and they're level 15. Not that big a deal. But it is worth remembering. I like to bring things up like that once in a while. I just don't see a point in, at this point, replacing the level, because the levels kind of go by so quick, and the monsters almost instantly die like that every time anyway. This video is going to be all just bee pollen, isn't it? You know, sometimes when I start the video, I think, man, there's so much I can get done in this video. I'm gonna honestly get so much done, it's crazy. And then there's like a grind like this that I kind of forget about. And I have a feeling this is gonna happen a lot. No, well that wasn't from behind. I thought he was gonna keep going. Valinio. See, Naji might actually be better here, strictly so I don't constantly insta-kill them. Alright, there's a couple of wasps over here. We'll probably make our way back west at some point. Just because there's going to be even more wasps there. I see another wasp behind me, but let me kill this first. Where'd that wasp go? Oh, there's a sheep. Maybe I just saw these saplings. No, there's the wasp. He just flew a little further away. I could really use another proc of Treasure Hunter. Bee pollen, woo! Just one more. We're not going to go any further south, because at this point we're just running further and further away from where we actually need to go. Oh, hey, wasp. There we go. I did proc Treasure Hunter there. I did not get pollen, however. Listen, Treasure Hunter. What Treasure Hunter does is it affected. I think I explained it in the previous part. It opens a slot, so basically all enemies are programmed to have X or Y number of potential drop slots, and those slots have a value of like 0 to 1 or 0 to 2 or like whatever, you know. So what Treasure Hunter does is it forces open one of those slots and makes it so it has to reward an item from that item pool. Or let me just, I guess say force is a bit strong. It increases the likelihood that one of those drop slots will open. It doesn't force it. It can't make a slot occur. Actually, now I'm not sure. It's weird because again, I used it to explain, what did I do? I explained it in the first part of the second part, where I explained that some notorious monsters have guaranteed slots that are like between one of two items, and it cannot affect those, but it can increase the likelihood that something drops that is not guaranteed to drop. That's probably the simplest way to explain it without needing to explain, and needing to accurately explain it, that how the individual drop slots, but you've got kind of an idea from my description. It's not entirely accurate what I'm saying, but it gives me a chance. I'm more likely to see bee pollen when it procs, because bee pollen is not guaranteed in the first place. And now I only need one more. Right? One? I had two, right? I don't have three? Right. That's level 18. So level 18 is the level you can officially unlock your sub-job. So that was one of our goals. By the time we reached Selbina, we wanted to make sure we were level 18. That was kind of a foregone conclusion. Valkurm Dunes would have leveled us really quick if it wasn't taking me forever to get this stuff out here too. But that's no biggie. You can see these monsters. Now, it's funny. If you start playing during an anniversary campaign, each of these mobs is like 200 or 300 EXP instead of 80. I'm actually getting very little EXP compared to like when I'm normally logged in, which is normally during those types of playtimes. So I'm actually leveling at I'll say a closer to normal speed. Not normal entirely. I definitely wouldn't go that far. Closer to normal. I'll say this. I've known people who are out here for hours without getting all of their bee pollen. Now, on one hand, that makes me really happy, that I've already got 2 of them. It does, however, give me no solace in knowing that I don't have 3 of them. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you have 2, congratulations, but 2 does you nothing. Again, if you actually have a decent amount of gil, I believe you can purchase bee pollens. They might be only from... Let me check. Are they from people's inventory? No, you can just buy them. It's maybe worth considering buying bee pollen just to save time. I personally wouldn't. I think it's valuable to get out here and be killing the monsters, even if they're not worth too much EXP. Between the skill ups and the potential, like, sparks and like, effectively, I'm making money simply by existing out here. You know what I mean? Because any opportunity I have to deal damage, to earn sparks, to complete repeat objectives, every single opportunity to do that is sparks, is accolades. Like, I have 12,000 sparks. That's, you know, you just multiply that by 10, and I'm effectively sitting on 120,000 gil. Yeah. And I'm not going to say no to that. Now, granted, some of these objectives aren't really worth a whole lot. That one I just did, the repeat for Konchat, 11 sparks and 10 accolades. Ooh. We got a baller over here. Yeah, you can imagine I'm not exactly gonna, you know, right home. Of course I proc Treasure Hunter on this thing. See, I proc Treasure Hunter on that thing and it didn't drop something. I had a better chance of that slot opening. But it did not guarantee the slot would be open. So that was actually a pretty decent example. That kind of better backs what I'm saying. It has a chance of opening the slot. A better chance of opening the loot slot. And there's our last bee pollen. So, we are done here. We got our telepoint. We got our faded crystal. We have 3 bee pollen. And now we just need to grab the survival guide on our way through Valkurm. Now, there is actually some value in taking a detour here. I'm not going to, but going over to Guskin Mines isn't the worst idea. It's on the east side of the map. And I believe there is a survival guide there right at the entrance. I'm not going to do that right now because it's honestly not that far from this survival guide. And I will have to go there later anyway. So in terms of the current goal that's in front of me, I'm not actually saving any time at any point. Like, will I not have to walk there later? Sure. But by the time I go there, I have a mount. So going from here to the east side of the map with the mount is going to be faster than running to the east side of the map now, getting the teleport, and then walking back over here just to be able to save the teleport later. You know what I mean? Now, Valkurm Dunes is probably one of the most notorious areas in the entire game. It is the area in the game where, in the olden days, it was the first place where people really grouped up to level. Now, that means one of 2 things. One, it means that the majority of the players there are incredibly inexperienced new players that don't understand the game yet. And number 2, that means there's a lot of people there. And so it's constantly a congregation of players that are not very skilled or not very knowledgeable. And I'm speaking really to any new player. Almost no new player is going to go into Valkurm Dunes and actually do well. So it's not even a slight. It's more like an acknowledgement of the fact that they literally haven't had the opportunity to operate in an actual group yet. They probably don't have good gear. They probably don't have any gil to buy like food or have decent armor or weapons. Like, they don't understand any of the gameplay principles that when you're working in a party make sense. Things like skill chains, magic bursts, how to manage your MP, how to read situations, what enemies actually do. There's like basically nothing. And because you're fighting enemies that are several levels over you, if any of your players don't really understand that, then it either takes forever to kill the monsters or you just die. Alright, so it looks like Windurst has control of this as well. Looks like Windurst is going ham over here on Bahamut. It's also very bright. Another thing, very bright. Now, players would come here at level 10 And they would kill monsters around here. They would group up and kill lizards mostly. Sometimes goblins. It depends on how good the group of players is. The lizards don't aggro, but the goblins do. And as such, let us head in here. So first we're going to remove this because I'm done there. And we are going to do Valkurm Dunes. Now, one of the subjugations is Valkurm Emperor. Now, Valkurm Emperor is actually pretty much a higher level Leaping Lizzie in terms of notoriety. It's similar, same deal. It drops an item that's rare, valuable, very good. Used to be botted, and then they made it rare EX. Basically, the entire story that I gave you about the Leaping Boots applies to Valkurm Emperor. It is not a bad item. It's got evasion, dex, agility. Those are really good for a lot of weapon skills. There's not a lot of gear early on that has it. And it's usually not that competitive anymore. So very similar to Leaping Lizzie. If you want to go out of your way and stop and try to kill it, it's not a bad idea. That being said, you probably want to be in your mid-20s to have a decent time against it. I wouldn't kill it at level 18 like I am right now. It might be possible with Valiniral because he's just so good. But I'm not going to bet money that he's good enough to do that. So I'm not going to tell you to do it. I'm just going to acknowledge to you that it's certainly an option. All right, so let me look through some of these to see if there's anything I don't have. I have vanquished multiple enemies. I'm actually at 151 out of 200. That's really good. I have the damage. I can't do this. Total damage is being worked on. Total damage taken is being worked on. Weapon skills is being worked on. Oh, so in this cave there are bats. The bats aggro. A lot of players used to just gamble outrunning these bats and making it all the way to Selbina. Because they were like maybe just a little too high of a... Okay, well it looks like somebody else will. Oh, no, here they are. They were usually just a little too hard for players to solo. So unless a group came through here and killed them together, which wasn't all too uncommon, most players would straight up just like try to make it past them and just outrun them. Not a very good plan. I've seen many people die to doing that. But a plan nonetheless. My dagger skill is doing pretty good. Now, we are going to fill up on inventory soon. Again, while you only have 30 inventory slots, you really can't afford to just hold on to everything. If you stop killing an enemy type, or like you happen to... Like, I'm going to be in a town soon, so I can vendor some of this stuff. But also make liberal use of your Mog Satchel. Once you pass through that cave, it is worth mentioning that there are much higher level goblins. Now, at my level, at 18 with trusts, they shouldn't be a problem at all. But they are a little annoying. Muggers are thieves, and they have very high evasion. So if you have not been keeping up with your skill levels, I actually would recommend avoiding them completely. Because killing them could just be really annoying. Your trusts aren't going to land as many hits, you're not going to land as many hits, and it sucks. I'm trying to remember the names of the other ones. Leechers are white mages, annoying simply because they normally have a lot of buffs active. They usually have Protect, Shell, Aqua Veil, so they can just be kind of durable. And that can really suck. And then the last one, what are the black mages called? I'll run into one soon. I forgot what the black mages are called. But there's also black mage mobs. And they usually have flame spikes up. Not that bad. You just deal damage. You just take damage every time you land a physical attack on them. But they also cast AoE spells that can be quite dangerous. They cast Sleepga. They cast dots on the main tank. And they will cast AoE spells that do hit quite hard. So if you're a gambler, that's what they're called. So if you're not too high of a level, it's not the best idea to engage with these enemies. I'm level, 18. So it's really not that big a deal for me. I can also use some meat jerky. Never hurts to use the meat jerky that you get for free. And even just that thunder spell alone hit pretty hard. Fortunately, Sneak Attack Wasp's thing does pretty good. And the good news is if you can land hits against these things, you're going to be walking away with a decent amount of dagger skill. Or whatever skill you're using. Or you could proc Treasure Hunter. I procced it to 3 there. See, just casting fire on the main tank, no big deal. Still hits him pretty hard, though. They also have bomb toss. So all goblins have bomb toss, and this does one of two things. He either throws the bomb and it does some AoE damage like you just saw, not a big deal, or it drops the bomb and does damage proportionate to its remaining health. If one of them drops a bomb and they are near full health, it can be kind of dangerous. So it doesn't happen very often, but it can. So I'm warning you now. Just in case. You know, I'm just doing you a solid. So here's one of those muggers. It says that it seems to have high evasion. So to give you an idea, let's just fight one. I'm not really at any risk of dying, so I might as well just show you. Miss. So sneak attack will help me get around that briefly. And now we pray. Miss, 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 miss. Yeah, pretty normal. I actually landed a hit. Sweet. Any hit we can land is well and indeed worth it. If I can land any hits. This is where Shantoto destroys things, by the way. She would... If you have Shantoto 2 again, these things just get obliterated. Ah, there's the bomb drop. So when they're really low on health, the bomb drop does basically nothing. But they also just die. It's actually why a lot of people like killing goblins, even though there's the risk of the high-level goblin being a little bit of a menace. They are just so incredibly valuable if they actually do kill themselves like that. And this is a leecher, so this thing's got some buffs. It started with blink as well, which can be pretty annoying. As soon as I hit 1,000 TP, I'm going to sneak attack. This is why you would make a macro for this, so you don't have to do all the menuing I just did. You're going to see me do that menuing for a little bit, just because I don't feel like making the macro right now. It's literally all it comes down to. It's not hard, I just don't want to do it. And I learned Gust Slash. Okay, a silver ring I think is plus HP minus MP, right? Yeah, there you go. That's not too bad. And also, you'll notice that I'm getting EXP chains. That's for killing monsters that are even match when you check them or higher. I don't know. They actually, did they? I feel like they might have changed. I think there might be like a different stipulation to it now. That's how I've always associated, because that's how it was associated back in the day. So generally speaking, you want to be killing monsters in rapid succession that are even match or higher, because they're worth more experience. And when you do, and with trust, it's very easy. The leveling is super quick. Like, I hit 19 already because I'm going to be getting so much EXP a kill. Like, why not? Why would I not do that? Come on. Little by little, I'm just picking up those dagger skill ups. Fortunately, once you get far enough in your skill ups, the skill ups just kind of take care of themselves. But it's very, very important that I stay on top of that now. I forgot I had Vanquish with physical damage as one of my things. Oh, there's a an outpost over here. Not a very important outpost, mind you, but an outpost all the same. Because there's a town like 2 steps that way. So we'll grab this survival guide, but then we can just step into the town. Just another teleport. No reason not to grab it. So, with that 3 bee pollen, by the way, we're actually going to unlock 2 very important things. One, we're going to unlock our sub-job, which I do recommend you instantly turn around and level. I know it's tempting to just keep doing what you were doing, and just keep, you know, smashing away at, you know, whatever job you're currently leveling, and honestly, you can. There's really no harm in it. But your sub-job gives you so much power that you're going to want to do it as soon as possible, regardless. Look at me, I pulled aggro thanks to sneak attack. Hey, I got some parry and evasion skill ups. That never hurts. So we actually don't even want to check for Valkurm Emperor, to be honest. The last thing we want, like, I am going to check this, but we don't want to see Valkurm Emperor. I can't kill him right now, like, in any sort of, like, reasonable capacity. Aparuru, I don't remember, at some level, Aparuru can regenerate their own MP. I don't remember what level that is, but they'll get access to a weapon skill that they don't actually attack, but she generates TP over time, and then she can just use a weapon skill that grants her MP, and then she doesn't become a bottomless pit, but in, like, as long as she's not being forced to constantly burn through her MP, she's usually more than self-sufficient. And then if you need to, you can just, you know, desummon, resummon her like I showed you in the last episode. Uh, 42. Alright. But yeah, sub-jobs allow us to gain access to most of the abilities. Not all, but most of the abilities of whatever secondary job we have equipped. But we have to level it. We can't just equip Warrior and not level it. Like, otherwise it'll only be level 1. You realistically end up wanting it at 49. I'm not saying you should immediately get it to 49. I'm saying that eventually you'll get it to 49. In reality, most people take it to like 20, 25 or something. Especially Warrior, because 25 is actually a really major point for Warrior. And then they'll wait a little while. They'll like go back, level their main job to whatever they're going to do. Get it to like 50, 60, whatever. And then once you've done a bunch of Rhapsodies and you have some bonuses, that's when people usually go back and finish it. So we should be getting a Rhapsodies quest. Yep, there it is. Hello, Gilgamesh. That's Gilgamesh, by the way. You're going to find out in a second regardless. Sabina's mayor is looking for adventurers to fulfill a specific task for him. I'm not familiar with the particulars, but Flandias is. He can direct you to the mayor's residence. I like how that happens to you completely unprompted. And Flandias only points you to where you need to go. You don't have to speak to Flandias. So, funny thing about Selbina and Muhara, if you haven't played in a while, they are sort of endgame hubs now. Muhara more than Selbina most of the time. But there's endgame encounters that are located in both Muhara and Selbina. So you actually run into a lot of other players in these areas. So don't be too surprised if you're like running around and you're like, why are there so many people here? I also did mention that I can buy maps here. And I can. I walked past the NPC for it already. But they are one of the NPCs as soon as you enter. If I actually go back this way. And I highly advise, again, if you haven't sold any Acheron shields yet, now is not a bad time. I believe it's Lombaria over here. How about a magic map? I said no, because I'm stupid. So see, map of Sandoria, map of Winders. I even have, like, with a few thousand gil, I can pick up the basics here. It's just nice to have these. There are so many maps. And again, Juno will sell a whole bunch of maps as well. Now, a lot of these I don't actually need. Devoy, Gelsba, I will need them eventually. Zerhun, Palboro. Like, these are all incredibly useful. And again, I recommend getting as many as you can. But I'm not going back yet. And I only have 2,200 gil on me. So we are going to power through before we do anything else. The mayor's residence is over here. Now, if you were not doing Rhapsodies, the sub-job unlock would actually be down here, and it'd be that Isachio guy over there. He would ask you to bring him a magic skull, a crab apron, and a damselfly worm, I believe it is. Damselfly worm? That sounds right to me. And those are from the various enemies back out there. The magic skull comes from skeletons that either only spawn at night or there's actually some in Gooskin Mines, which is why I mentioned Gooskin Mines earlier. However, Rhapsodies just requires these 3 bee pollens. So I can talk to Abelard over here. He is the mayor. My spare time, I research the life of Gwyn. The man who charted the maps we all carry today. He was an adventurer like you. His travels took him far and wide, and slowly he fleshed out his maps. One day I discovered that stone monuments bearing his words lie in various places all over the world. Seems each monument carries a different quote. I'd love to rush out and see them all, but it's tough at my age. Say, maybe you can help me gather his words. What do you say? Of course. Now, this is because he's also an NPC for another quest. I actually think I need to speak to the front desk person, not him. This is a completely different quest. Yeah, he gives you the Selbina Clay quest. So I think I actually needed to speak to you. Okay, you wanted an adventure? There we go. You must be Pletse. I sure am. I'm going to toss that Selbina Clay, by the way. I'm not doing that anytime soon. Thank you for answering the summons. One of the mayor's confidants has been asking for you. I'm Albalon, mayor of this village. It's so tiny, you see, that all I do is mediate when there are disagreements. A entrepreneur associate of mine, known as Gilgamesh, has had your name on his lips for the past several days. He rescued a young woman adrift at sea, and she spoke quite highly of you when she woke up. Finding you has removed one burden off my shoulders, but there remains yet another. You see, Gilgamesh made a second request. He's looking for clumps of bee pollen that can be procured from some of the large bees around the crag of Holla and Dem. Their medicinal properties are highly valued during times of... Oh, wait, no, it's her talking. Their medicinal properties are highly valued even during times of peace. And what's with the recent change happenings? You probably know what I'm going to ask. Wrest 3 clumps of bee pollen from those buzzing menaces located around either of the 2 aforementioned crags. Of course, your efforts will be duly rewarded. Best of luck. And now we trade those bee pollens to her, and this is going to unlock our subjobs and a quick teleport to an area called Norg. Okay, clearly I have to trade them to him and not her. There we go. Oh, you've brought them back safely then. Gilgamesh and his entourage have just arrived back in the port. So you're Pletse, eh? I've heard much about you. My friend, Pletse gathered these clumps of bee pollen, just as you requested. Aye, this just be what we ordered. Now a little tit for tat. Excellent. I think adventurers would have a use for these. So here, Pletse, for you. Suppose we'd best get down to business. Pletse, might come as a bit of a surprise to hear this, but I'm a pirate known for roaming the Bastor Sea. What? The oceans to the west have been a bit stormier than usual of late, and me and my crew came across a small vessel adrift the tides. So of course I say to myself, who'd have thought that such a delicate rowboat could stay whole in such a terrible brew? And the whole thing started flashing red. Being curious sailor I am, I went and investigated. Lo and behold, there was a pretty young lass lying prone along the deck. I've always had quite the fondness for the colour red. Figuring it must be a sign from Altana herself, I took her on board and brought her back with me to Norg. When she came to, the first words from those pale lips of hers were your name. So I want you to come back to Norg with us. She was quite insistent on meeting you. See, she's gone on a bit of a hunger strike. Ship's docked at port waiting to take you whenever you got your affairs in order here. I just remembered a bit of pressing engagement I gotta attend to, but I'll catch up with you there. I have a request. Don't breathe a word to the populace that I aided a known pirate. Their activities aren't completely on the up and up, but as a port town we still depend on them. And while we're talking of aid, remember to use that item I gave you. Asachio here in town will know what to do with it. So, the item he gave me, the introductory letter, if I give this to Asachio, he will now give me the sub-job. I can also, subsequently, go to Norg now. Now, Norg used to only be accessible by doing either having a lot of gil or through a series of side quests. The big thing is when you hit level 25, you could go to Juno, and there are 4 airships that leave the docks in Juno. 3 of them go to Bastok, Windurst, and Sandoria. The last one goes to Kazam, which is an area from the Rise of Xylard expansion. You can only go to Kazam if you either fork over, I think it was 250 or 500,000 gil or something like that, or you have to collect 3 chest keys from the highest level areas in the Beastman strongholds closest to the city-states. So Windurst has What's it called? Not Godot. What's that one called? What? I can't remember what it's called. It's been too long. Let's go to the Conquest map. Actually, it might be Godot. Look at how much Windurst is controlling. Goodness. So we go to Saruta Baruta. Yeah, oh, Gideus. That's what it is. Yeah, I was mixing up Bordeaux and Gideus. So, yeah, in the deepest parts of Gideus, the highest level monsters there will drop a Gideus key. Over in Gelsba Outpost, over here in Ronfaur, let me just do that. Gelsba Outpost and Ugot Grotto, all those areas, they're basically like connected. Ugot Grotto, coffer key, as well as a Palboro Mines coffer key. You bring all three of those to the NPC and they would give you access to Kazam. Once you're in Kazam, you have to navigate over to Norg by running through one of the jungles and running through a cave system with some hidden walls. Once you're in Norg, then there's a whole bunch of other stuff you get access to. But now, as soon as I continue this quest line, I will have access to Norg. Before I even have access to Kazam, which can actually make things a lot easier. It also means you never need to unlock the airship to Kazam because you can go from Norg to Kazam, get the home point, and then just teleport back and forth. Alright. This guy doesn't really say anything, but this is just his backstory. This is just him telling you about him giving you the sub-job quest. He's not like important. Yeah, Damselfly Worm, and then he'll ask for the Crab Apron, and then the Magic Skull. However, because I have the introductory letter, I will instruct you in my most precious skill. I call it a support job. Listen well to learn its secrets. Support jobs are undertaken anywhere you normally change jobs, and you must already be proficient in a job before you can declare it your support job. Furthermore, the effective level of your support job can never exceed half that of your main job, and since it is merely a support job, you'll never advance through experience. I should give an example. Let's say you have attained level 20 as a warrior and level 10 as a white mage. You would obviously declare your main job warrior and your support job white mage. Don't ever do that. That is not the same as a paladin. In this example, you fight as a warrior of 20 levels and as a white mage of 10 levels lower. Thus, you would be performing both jobs to their maximum potential. You are definitely not a white mage to your maximum potential. In contrast, if you had declared white mage as your main job and warrior as your support job, things would be different. Since you would only have 10 levels of experience as white mage, your potential as warrior would be reduced to half of that. Thus 5. Not a wise decision, is it? Similarly, you wouldn't want to make your support job something you've never done before. If your support job level is less than half of your main job, your undeveloped skills would not make a difference. Remember this well. I recommend you choose a support job that covers your main job's weaknesses or one that enhances its strengths. Realize there is much to remember, my pupil. Very good. Now try your hand at a support job. Perfect. Now we have access to the support job. I think we speak to... yeah, this guy right here. So, this will take us to Norg. And that'll be perfect. We're setting sail for Norg, landlubber. Hopefully you can handle the rough seas. Oh no, this isn't Gilgamesh. Why am I doing his voice? It's alright, he's another pirate. Hoist the sails, mateys. We're off. And now they will just teleport me right there. Alright, and now that we are in Norg. Now, there's so many things in Norg, I don't want to start going off. There's literally, like... Norg is also kind of an endgame hub. There are a number of features that are unlocked here, and it's very central to some other locations that you end up going to as well. So, I don't even want to get into it. There's so many things here. NPCs that let you gamble on stats, things you can buy. Like, honestly, there's some really good stuff in Norg. I would definitely keep in mind some of the NPCs you're going to unlock here later, because they are very, very important. You can also see I can rent a chocobo from here, if necessary, which I don't have to yet. But you will see a lot of very high-level players here as well. There's survival guides, by the way. There's home points. There's lots of ways to get to and from Norg. But the big thing that we want is actually to finish this quest, if I recall correctly. Oh, maybe it's not this quest. Maybe it's the quest after it, the one that ends in Kufim, that we really want to take care of. Rhapsodies gives you your 4th trust pretty quick. I think I have to beat a mini-boss in Kufim Island before I can get my 4th trust. It's either that or it's from this. I think it's from the boss in Kufim. Here we go. Did you get bumped about by the waves on your way here, Pletze? No matter. The boss will be waiting inside for you. I really only have one voice for that. I apologize. Oh ho! Would you look at who decided to join us? Huh. Master! I am both humbled and honored to be able to exchange words with you once more. I have followed your instructions to the letter. Months upon years have I toiled, seeking guidance for both man and the heavens, never once letting my training or dedication falter. All this I have done so that we may meet once more. Unworthy though your disciple Iroha may be, her words and emotions are true. Master? You got krill in your ears, boy. She's calling you her master. What kind of master runs around forgetting who their pupils are? You mean to say you don't remember her at all? What's all this malarkey? Do not get angry at him. It is only natural that he not remember me. I have wholly lost track of what year this is. 884, correct? This time is many, many years before I came to be, and my presence here is somewhat of an anomaly. Did you hit your head for I found you floating adrift or something? You mean to say that you haven't been... Well, I guess they're doing fire drills in my apartment. 1 second. Alright, I'm back. It stopped there for like 30 seconds. I can't guarantee that we're not safe from more beeping, but that is not an infrequent occurrence, unfortunately. You mean to say you haven't been born yet? Then how'd you get here? I come from an age far in the future, when Vanadil stands on the precipice, and the Master is the only one who can guide me. So you mean to say that Pletze is this master of yours? And from that outfit you're wearing, I'd wager you were born in the Far East. That is correct. I am the guardian of Reisenjima's Sanctorium, and have a strong link with the heavens as its chief priestess. Ho ho! I know the particulars of the Eastern faith are a bit foreign to the rest of us, but Altana remains a central figure even there. So that'd make you religious authority then. And let me guess, the power of the spirit sent you back to our time. They set me adrift so that I may prevent the darkness which has engulfed my era. What's this then? You're gonna have to be a bit more straightforward. Does this mean that the beastmen end up victorious in the end? Or is it something far more nefarious? Oh, I gotta turn off the assist channel. Master, do I have your leave to show them our reality? By your will. In the age from whence I hail, Vanadil is gripped in the vice of fear. In my homeland, we refer to it as emptiness, a blanket of darkness that infects all... You know, it's fun. Okay, so backing up. When I called Cloud of Darkness sort of an embodiment of emptiness, I know it's not entirely correct, but it is this line that led me to call Cloud of Darkness that. Cloud of Darkness is a little bit more complicated than just an embodiment of emptiness. But I digress. The Master and his comrades strove tirelessly for a brighter future, and their tale is known by all in time. Many months and years passed. I came to be in this world and trained diligently under the Master's gentle hand. Yet it was not long before the skies began to cloud, both figuratively and literally. All the assist channel stuff. It descended like a thick miasma, stifling the land under a blanket of silence. Yeah, it protrudes from the crystals. That's something the emptiness does. Oh, and I got a Stream Deck update? Come on! Everything's trying to interrupt me here at the end. I looked into the Master's eyes and could see the truth. My homeland was not the only victim. Quan, Mendarsha, Adulin. The end times were upon us, and both man and goddess were powerless to stop it. But then, how did you survive? The Master and my father sacrificed themselves. My mother is from an island known as Reisenjima, the land where the final struggle took place. Vanquishing the emptiness was but a fantasy. It was all I could do to erect a barrier to halt its advance. A Pyrrhic victory indeed, as the walls of Ryzenjima Sanctorum could do naught but echo back at my own solitary cries. I was trapped for several years, when a spirit descended from the heavens to alight on a nearby brazier. She told me that there was only one speck of hope that could save us. The Master. I was to find the Master and join my light with his. The spirits opened a path for me, guiding me back to here, to this point in Vana'diel's history. Master, I would like to give you this, lest I forget to do so at a later junction. From what you told me, there will be many trials posed to you before you finally set foot in the land you know today as the Far East. Keep this by your side and the path will remain open to you. Always. Follow its guidance and it will lead you unfailingly to my time. However... Now just hang on a minute. If we just follow it without doing anything else, we'll just end up at your apocalyptic future where you're the only one left alive, right? That is correct. However, the Master surely has the capacity to experience both futures, one with the emptiness, and one without. Please find a way. Cannot stay long. What in the blazes? Pletzy, I can't make heads or tails of this whole thing. Think she's telling the truth? This warrants further study. I'll see if my agents can pick up on anything. I've never been too good at dealing with complex twists and turns. Give me some time to collect me thoughts. Alright, and that gives us the Ryzenjima Sanctorium Orb. And I think before any more alarms or PC alerts or anything goes off, that's probably a good place to wrap this up. So this is definitely something you want to get done as soon as possible. Again, now that we have sub jobs as well, I am going to recommend that you swap to either, most of the time, it depends on what you start as. If you started as warrior, honestly, keep leveling it. I wouldn't even swap to anything else until after you hit level 30. I wouldn't even go back and level monk as a sub job, to be honest. I would recommend you get warrior to 30, and then once you have any job at 30, you can unlock a plethora of other jobs. Dark Knight, really good. Paladin, Samurai, Dragoon. All the physical jobs make very good use of warrior. Now, it's not their end goal for the most part. A lot of jobs at level 99 do use something different, but that is so far down the line, I can't even fathom needing to care. When you hit 30, Dancer is another really good option. Kind of annoying to get at level 30, but doable. And is definitely going to be something that I pick up. It gives you a lot of solo sustainability. It gives you a lot of safety. Eventually, you don't need to pay for sneak oils or powders anymore to sneak around, which I will have to start doing somewhat soonish. So that's another really solid option, is picking up Dancer, but we won't have to worry about that for a while. In this video, I'd say we did pretty good. We got our bee pollen in a pretty decent amount of time. We got to Norg. We got our sub jobs unlocked. And then the next video, I'll probably double back and do some leveling. Oh, in fact, I just got an email about a false alarm. Rare that they actually email me about the false alarms. Oh, also, real quick, if I don't do it before I end this video, I will forget. Is that window 1 or window 2? Unity group. Assistant English, assistant Japanese. There we go. I think that's the window. No, it's window 2. Or is it? Hold on. Maybe it's just chat filters as a whole. Assist E, assist J. There we go. What? maybe they won't show up anymore. I thought that it deleted them. Hold on. I'm forgetting which one is which. Yeah, I could have swore that it erased them. Nothing wrong with the assist channels. I just obviously don't want to be seeing them, especially while I'm reading cutscenes. Hopefully that's fixed for next time. We'll find out soon enough. All right, but that is going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy XI. Hopefully you're all enjoying it now that it's 3 weeks out. I'm 8 days recording this 8 days in advance. And like I said, after I take care of a couple things, I might even record another part tonight. I want to be as far ahead of these as possible. That way I can make sure that there's plenty released to you, and maybe even do some bonus episodes on Saturdays, because my Saturday schedule is looking pretty open for video releases for the next couple of months. But I won't guarantee any Saturday releases. Just bear in mind you may see the occasional extra release on Saturday. Not until at least after this episode airs at the earliest, however. Probably even the episode after this. So, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to stay tuned for more. I'll also have a playlist made for this by then, so be sure to keep an eye on that playlist every Wednesday for the Final Fantasy XI Let's Play series. With that, I will see all of you in the next video. Until then, take care.